go.
Hello, hi, Anders, Mr. Lundemark in Denmark. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks. How
Okay.
are you?
I'm fine. I'm very happy to interview you because if my memory is good, I didn't interview you. You maybe what your bass player since Don't Fight Me, Don't Hit Me, but since Come Down Cold album.
Okay, so 99. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about change of label, etc. And after its life, but you still live in Denmark, in
Yes.
Copenhagen? Yeah.
Yeah, south of Copenhagen.
Okay.
We had a daughter, a little bit of a afterburner 6 years ago, and then we moved a little bit out of the city.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
now we are out in the countryside where we both grew up. So we're like 50 kilometers out of Copenhagen now.
Okay. So we are here to speak about the new stuff, the new album, the new studio album. It's called Sad Plight of Lucifer. We are going to speak about this strange title, weird title.
Perfect. It's better than Danish.
Yeah, and it's your eighth studio album, if I'm right.
Yes.
Yeah, studio. Okay, okay, and it's gonna release on the Hammerheart Records label. Okay, before to speak, during, if I'm right, and if I didn't interview you during a while, that's why also the band never split, if I'm right, but you didn't release anything between Nothing Is Secret in 2009 and Alpha and the Omega 2019. Why?
Why? That's a good question. We had
You didn't sleep. You didn't split and sleep.
yeah, it was actually ready for a long time. I think we have everything done. I think in 2016.
Okay.
We played the Copenhagen Festival in 2015,
Okay.
and shortly after that, the album was done. But then we were starting to look around for label and
Okay.
stuff like that, and we started playing some live shows. And
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it just took a while before we found our footing, you know.
But
So
officially, the band never split.
yeah, I think working with Hammerheart started in maybe 17 or 18, and then it took for a while in their schedule and all that, and then it came out in 19. So I think the delay was partly going back to the classic lineup, and then picking up slowly, starting live shows and stuff like that, and then finishing the album. So it took a while more. It took more time than we wanted it to take, you know.
Oh, yeah, but you could release just an EP, a split album, or live, or B-sides. No idea
Yeah,
for that.
no, we maybe we could have. I don't know. It just we were excited about the album
Yeah,
and getting a little bit of coming back to the roots in a way,
yeah,
because
yeah,
came back to the classic lineup and the
yeah.
influences from back then, and the people that are in the band now. You know, we kind of had to adjust a little bit. So I think that we were really excited about putting out an album, but it took a while to get to it.
Okay, okay. And the new, I think okay. Yeah, we wait a lot, but I think the new stuff is very good. So it's
Thanks.
good. It's you take your time, but it's okay. No, yes, the classical lineup in Konkhra. You for people who don't know, you sing and you play guitars,
Yes.
rhythm guitars. But in the past, you play also a bit bass. 1990, if I'm right.
Yeah, I actually started in the band
Oh, okay,
in '89 or something on the bass,
okay,
and then the second guitarist left, and then that's when I
yeah,
shifted. So in the first demo, I think I did a solo or two and the bass, and then
yeah.
the second demo I was on guitar.
Okay,
And so,
and
yeah.
rhythm guitar. You play rhythm guitar because it's Kim Mathisen who
Kim
play.
mainly does the leads. I do a little bit of leads here and there, but it's not. I think it's maybe 90%. On the new album, everything is Kim. I do a little bit of floating stuff, but not exactly leads.
Okay, mainly the leads. It's you who plays.
Yeah, Kim does mainly the lead guitar. Yeah.
Kim. Okay, d'accord. Okay, on bass, it's Martin Orlighted Patterson.
Yeah.
And Johnny Nelson, your former drummer, who come back in 2014. Johnny Nelson on drums.
exactly. Yeah,
I
and
just, excuse me, tell me.
he was on the first stuff, even from
Yeah,
back for the first album and all that. So
yeah, yeah.
it's a pretty classic. Actually, Martin, he was on the demo also, so he was with us from '91,
Okay.
and Johnny was
Oh,
from also '91 or '92, and Kim's was with us from '94.
yeah,
And then people have been out and doing, there's been a little bit of change, but now it's a really old classic
yeah,
lineup we have.
yeah, yeah. And so you are an old band, if I'm right, an old dance metal
Yeah,
band.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, just a quick question about the past, and after we speak about the new stuff. I remember the album "Weed of the Week," and there is Chris Kontos on drums. Uh,
Yes.
and I don't remember if it was in this album. There was also James Murphy on guitars. James
Yeah,
Murphy.
James was actually, he's been on more albums than Weed, but Weed of the Week, that was both with Chris and James.
And this album, when I did really, I just I discovered it with Spit and Swallow and the EP after and Weed of the Week. But Weed of the Week for me it was there is a new. It opened a lot of things for you internationally. And are you still in touch with Chris Kontos? We just
Yeah.
he would just came back on a Machinette for recording the Vienna Bern Maya's album. And are you still in touch also with James Murphy in America?
Yes,
Both.
I talked a lot. I actually
Okay.
recently talked to James because of the hurricane was coming through where he lives.
Ah, okay. In Florida, maybe. Oh no, in
Yeah,
Virginia.
he
Virginia.
lives in Florida. He lives in Polk County, so that's between
Okay.
Orlando and Tampa, and
Ah,
that
yeah.
was right in the path. So that made me a little bit anxious
Ah, yeah.
about
Ah, yeah.
what
He's
was
safe.
going on.
He's safe. He's okay
He was
without
safe, and all the animals were safe, and the house is a solid one, and they
his
have a steel.
guitars. His
Yeah,
guitars.
all the guitars. There hasn't been flooding. We've heard scary stories from other guys from I don't remember who it was. I know one of the guys from I think it was Cannibal Corpse had a big problem
Oh,
with it.
ah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
The south, and so but I think James is in a good position as far as flooding and stuff like that. So
Okay.
he didn't have any problems, and that was really nice to hear. And Chris, I talked to actually pretty frequently. I can't remember. I think last time we talked to him was maybe last week. He was
Yeah.
talking about something with an endorsement for some the Polish Kopyto drum pedals, and we keep in touch. Last time we talked about doing some shows with Forbidden, and
Ah, yeah.
know,
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Forbidden. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay, very interesting. Now let's speak about the new stuff. And firstly, also Sad Plight of the Lucifer, the cover artwork. It's
okay.
more old school way, I find the artwork, more art school painting, a bit like the previous album, but very different of the
Yes.
album blue with a blue cover. Nothing is nothing is sacred. More
Yeah.
modern in the approach. So you wanted to come back to your roots with this new album, Sad Pride of Lucifer, visually and musically.
Yeah, I think they're all different, but this one, that the topics are, you always get the inspiration for the covers from the lyric material, and we have some stuff that are pretty, heavy metal topics that people like
Yeah,
Nuclear Assault and have been talking about the nuclear holocaust and all that stuff back in the 80s. But all
yeah,
of a sudden, with the problems we have in Europe and Putin acting up and all these things, we have some references where we kind of jump on the
a lot of
opportunity
things.
to talk again about these heavy metal topics and
Yeah,
the things that we grew up with,
war.
the scary stuff that's going on, and how the world is kind of repeating itself. History in some ways, we still have the same problem as when we were kids, like 40 years ago in the Middle East, and now it's kind of a repetition
Yeah,
almost. And I think the nuclear scare and what's going on in Europe and the confrontations that have been lining up all over the planet it's a little bit like it felt when you grow up with the Iron Curtain and the East versus West and all that stuff.
Cold War,
yeah, exactly. So there are lots of things to comment on in the lyrics, and that's why we made this this cover, because it pretty much touches the religious the conflict that are based on religion, and this whole like zombie following of some leader. Maybe you can look at the cover as people that just walked out of participating in the election a couple of days. You know what I mean? So there are things there that are it still has this medieval the Black Plague, slavery, all that stuff, and also a little bit comment on present day.
But in the past, in your first album, first studio albums, Split or Swallow or Wit of the Week, there was nothing in religion about religion or Christianity, if I'm right. It was, I remember, the girl with a gun, violence, etc., but not directly religion.
Yeah, as you can say the cover with Split or Swallow, that was specifically for that song and the lyrics for that song, and that was actually some personal experience with people that were swallowed up by heroin abuse and stuff like that, friends, ex-girlfriend, some really bad drug abuse. So that is kind of that cover was kind of the suicidal when you get into drugs that are that threatening to your life, it's kind of a suicide trip.
But I'm a bit wrong because your first album, your first cover, Sexual Affective Disorder, there was a cross in the head of the
and also this the thing with well, I can't remember the name in English. That you have this birth string coming out of her head. And that's kind of and he's all catatonic, so he's being fed. His brain is overloaded from all the stuff that gets fed into the brain, and that kind of covers the whole lyrical topics in that album. We're still touching on the same subjects as back then, maybe in a different way, and maybe in a little bit more experienced way, and maybe with a little bit more history knowledge and philosophy and stuff like that. But basically, it's kind of in the same vein. That's of course a difference from writing stuff when you're 20 years old and now 30 years later. But the topics are, I think, as ever, current.
Topics in the metal music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in Lucifer?
Yeah, Lucifer is a broad concept. You have this. If you look at it in a philosophical way, there's this opposition to some dogma and some church. And if you look at it in history, it took a while for the church to release the control on the population, and much of that happened when we started having the Bible printed in native languages with Gutenberg in the 1500s in Germany, and that whole movement and enlightenment that followed, and a lot of secret societies and stuff that were power kind of dispersed after information became available, and Lucifer being the light bringer. There are some stuff there where the church in history maybe was in opposition to the public having access to information. So I think you have to look, if you look at it in that way, Lucifer is kind of an open access to science and education and stuff like that. But if you look at it in the biblical way, that there's a difference, and that's the way I think most people, especially if you're a little bit narrow-minded, then you'll just see it as Satan, the opposition to everything good and stuff like that. So do I believe in Lucifer. It depends, you know, what we agree on that Lucifer is actually representing. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah. And musically, are there any guests on this new album, or you could invite? We just speak about James Murphy or Chris Kontos, old friends,
No,
or
that's that.
no?
We don't have any. We're a little bit dug in our own little world, and we
Yeah.
didn't really reach out to anybody. Or to I know it's a big thing with guests on a lot of records, but we kind of felt like you know, the four of us,
Yeah.
we had to kind
Yeah.
of get the
Okay.
work done.
Okay. Alors, so I find this new album very good, to be honest. And what I like is and that's the touch, I think, of the band of the 90s. We can remember the song.
Yeah.
Because there are melodies. It's brutal, but melodic. And for example, Seven Plagues, or the first single, Revolution, etc., etc. And we can remember the song. So it's your how do you record it? Do you write and compose? Because the songs, all the songs are strong.
Thanks. I think in a lot of ways, you know, with the inspirations that we have, some of the songs, like you mentioned, the Seven Plagues, there are some inspirations there that were unlikely for us. The first parts that when I listened to it, I was like, well, are we going to do something that has something of almost like a Tool taste in the verse? And we have maybe a little bit Paradise Lost mixed in, some of the chord progressions, which was a little bit unlikely for us. So in the beginning with that song, I was a little bit apprehensive. I wasn't sure that this was us. But when it finished, it kind of climbed in the you know, in our understanding of the song, and also in the track listing, it climbed a little, because I feel like we put, for us, being this old school band with 30-year history and all that stuff, we kind of have some conventions that we're living up to. And then with that, I think we kind of move the goalpost a little bit out and cover a little bit of new territory. But at the same time, when you're talking about the first single with Revolution, that is pretty much being carried by 3 riffs and a solo part. Lots of the songs are, and that's very traditional and very easy in a way. But also the philosophy is a little bit, if those 3 riffs or 4 riffs or 5 riffs is strong enough, and you can remember or recognize it from when you listen to it the second time, maybe that's the way to go. Because if we're looking back at our inspirations, and we have to pick 3 songs from some of the bands of our youth, like Metallica or Slayer and stuff like that. What do we pick? Do we pick the fringe fast, or do we pick the songs that has that kind of melodic hook or something, you know? So I don't know. It's some of the stuff that I love the most is more melodic than we usually are, and we kind of had a discussion in the beginning where you can always go crazy with stuff and make things that are explosive blast beats and tapping solos and stuff like that. But what really stands out after a while is the stuff where the melody carries it a little bit more. You know what I mean? So I think we kind of just also with age, maybe it's a little bit mature to let something carry something, just a strong hook or maybe a strong melody or something, carry the most of it, and then you can you know, freak out in some changes or make some passages that are a bit more.
I think you reach find the good cocktail, the good mix of brutality and melody. I guess. And I find also thrash metal influences, especially from Testament Demonic album. Death thrash with of course vocals more death, and Demonic Chuck Billy sings more with a more death metal words in this album. Was it an influence, aware consciously or not, in your mind, Testament?
Testament was the very first band I ever saw at a concert when I was I can't remember if I was like 14 or something old. that was them opening for Anthrax on the Among the Living tour, and I think we're back in end of '86 or early '87 or something. And I was like 14, 15 years old, so they were the first band I ever saw. So I kind of always had this affinity for Testament. I think they're really one of the strong Bay Area bands. And if you think about it, when a lot of bands were reaching out into kind of like a rock and roll end of the 90s, a lot of bands, including us with Weed Out the Week and Come Down Cold, we were kind of moving into something that was a little bit rock and roll, blues-based riffing and stuff like that.
Entombed.
Exactly. And a big favorite of mine, Entombed, is really something cool. And then you have Testament putting out something like The Gathering. And actually on that tour, I saw them play in a pretty small club in Copenhagen, which is like a 250 or 300 capacity club. But that, I think they, even if it was a small place, they carried the torch for this brutality. And I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call for me, that what was the original fascination of metal, and they kind of rekindled that, I think, in the end of the 90s for me with those things. So that's definitely something. And then you see death metal and black metal later moving into super blast beat, which has been going on for what, 20 years now. Blast beats, you know.
And you remember on drums, it was Dave Lombardo, if I'm right, on the Gathering album. And live also. Okay. About 2 songs. Now, a few words about 2 songs. I think they made a diptych. I don't know if you understand. A duet, a diptych. The songs in the middle of the album, August 16, 1945. And Artificial Sun. Is it about Hiroshima and bombing and Ibakusha? You understand, the survivors, people who survived. They were called Ibakusha in Japan. Who survived. Is it about that? These 2 songs, or they are separate? Tell me more.
Oh, that's exactly right. It's like a prelude to Artificial Sun, and I think inspiration for that lyrics was in 2017. I was actually in Japan.
You told in Japan? Okay.
Yeah, we were in Japan, and that was just a private vacation, and then we went to Hiroshima. And I kind of carried that experience for a while. And some of the lyrics are just to when you're there, it hits you in a way. Same thing if you go to Auschwitz or something, you know.
Yeah.
In a way that this, just the magnitude of human suffering and being that people are able to do that to somebody else in a blink of an eye. You just close the lights for 250,000 people, and they are still living in the aftermath of that, and it completely changed Japanese society after and all that. So that's something that was kind of regurgitated with this album, because all of a sudden we have in the press, in the nuclear threat, and in Denmark and Sweden, you have official guidelines now for prepping and stuff like that, which is unusual for Denmark and Sweden, actually, that we from the government gets told to prep. If you go back 4 years, 5 years, prepping was something that was a little bit people were humorous about it. It was kind of like a joke, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you're living in times where it's the official government recommendation, you know what I mean?
Excuse me. And Japan had a few years ago another catastrophe with the nuclear in the coast, in the ocean. Have you seen the Oppenheimer movie? Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan, because it explains the scientific who creates the bomb with I don't remember about the bomb, and after, and in fact, we can understand all what the man who invents the bomb after the other big scientific. I don't remember, but have you seen the film, the movie?
The Manhattan Project and Oppenheimer and everything like that. And there's actually a very famous Danish physicist alongside with Einstein that is coming.
I was finding that.
Niels Bohr and Einstein and the warnings they gave to even to the president of the United States about and Oppenheimer's personal feelings about having built.
But the war was ending. In fact, actually, the war was ending, but they launched the bomb to test. Japan was okay. In fact,
the rationale at the time, I think, was that the Japanese way of fighting was they were like a very secluded society under the emperor, and everybody else were maybe looked down upon a little bit, so they had probably fought to the last man. And I think the politicians were like, if we do this, we will actually save millions of Japanese from just conventionally breaking them down. So I don't know. I think that was part of their rationale at the time to drop those bombs. But either way you look at it, you have some completely unfathomable.
But we have to learn. We have to learn about that and don't repeat the history. About the new single, what will be the next single? Maybe with a video clip. There was one for Revolution, very heavy and fierce. But which song maybe?
The next one is Seven Plagues, the song we talked about. Okay. And it's more like a lyric video. It has a lot of imaging, actually some AI imaging from Egypt, Seven Plagues and stuff like that. And that's the next one. And then there's one right after the album comes out, which is from the studio. And that's the title track where you
recording in studio, a place rough maybe. Okay, for you in guitar, we can see you in guitar.
We kind of did some clips around the recording of the stuff, and that's what became the video.
Okay. A bit like Pantera, maybe. No.
Or Metallica. If you look back, and they did from the studio,
nothing less. Okay. On which guitar you play? What is your guitar tuning? Before to conclude, what's your guitar? Don't you remember which guitar you play? Trademark, Ibanez.
I actually use one for the recording, and that's the one that I most often. It's a soloist Jackson, and the tuning on almost all the songs is C standard, which is an old Scandinavian death metal. Okay, we can speak a lot about this album, your goals, very efficient, the riffs, etc., the solo of your colleague, the drums part. What do you want to add about this album to sum up? And can we hope to see you live soon in France? Maybe summer festivals? I hope so. We will definitely do what we can to get out there with the music, for sure.
Okay.
And I just want to thank people for taking the time to listen and show some interest in an old band that's maybe not the new thing or something like that. We have a long history, and we kind of do our stuff, completely separate from whatever is going on in the scene. So I'm very thankful that people give us the light of day and take some time to listen to it.
Okay, and last to conclude, do you know Convent? Danish band? Okay. You like it? No.
It's a cool doom. It's also very exceptional for a band to be all female, even though we recently had Crypta, which is also all female band, and they kind of kick ass on a lot of stuff. I think maybe in the back when they're playing, there are some people, some guys that maybe they go home and rehearse a little bit because they get those girls kick some ass,
So I saw them live both, and they're crazy. And Crypta, I find a bit Death, the band influences,
Yeah.
but now they make their own stuff for the second album. They prepare a new
Yeah.
album, but yeah, that's a new generation, and I think
Yes,
it's you have to be a man. You have to.
yeah, it's
you have to,
they're definitely flying the flag high, you know.
yeah, because live, it's very whoa, it's very powerful.
Yeah,
Okay, I
it's
thank you. I thank you, and I let you. I just tell you bye bye after, and thank you very much, Anders.